Hello fellow thespians! Today I'm going to be showing you a basic period stage makeup tutorial for the musical I just did at Sydney State Theatre. I'm an actor, singer and makeup artist, and I've been doing my own stage makeup since I was 11 years old. This show was set in 1915 at a time when women didn't really wear makeup, so that presented a very different makeup brief than you'd normally get. It's a really simple, budget-friendly period look using a mix of brand name and drugstore products, and it's really easy to adapt into a variety of roles. So, let's get started! The first thing we're going to do is stick some tape down to create a bit of a template for the eyeshadow. A lot of makeup artists use tape for eyes, and I personally use medical tape because it's a lot more gentle on your skin than regular sticky tape is. And I just find that it means your eyeshadow is a lot more even. Oh look, you can see me singing along to Fleetwood Mac. The backstage techies had that playing and I was just singing along to it, as you do. Now you take your eyeshadow primer, and I use Revlon ColourStay eyeshadow primer. Just take that and blend it in all over your lids and brow bone with your finger. This is really important to prevent the eyeshadow from creasing later on, especially when you're dancing and singing on stage and you sweat. Let's be real, we all sweat. This will help it stay in place and not crease. Now when that's done, I take my Tarte Tartelette Basic Tools palette and I get a big brush and get the shade Mani Pedi, which is a lovely light neutral pink, and using the brush I will just blend that all over my lid and up to my brow bone. Now this creates a really nice base for the rest of my eyeshadow, and it will just ensure that my eyeshadow overall lasts longer. Next, I take my MAC eyeshadow in the shade Cork, a really lovely warm brown. Using a tapered brush and windshield wiper motions, I just put that in the crease to create a bit of depth and dimension that, with the harsh stage lights, you can very easily lose. And to sort of intensify that look, I take the shade Rocking Chair from my Tarte palette, and I'll just go over that. It's a bit of a darker brown and just gives me a bit more colour there. Next, I will take the very darker shade of the palette called Dinner Date and just very lightly put that on the corners of my eyes because my eyes are really round, as you can see. Next, I take my finger and really pack on the shade Champagne Toast from my Tarte palette, and that will just create a nice contrast between the lid and the socket, which is what we want on stage. Now, going back to the Tarte palette, take the shade Rocking Chair, the one we used in the crease, and using an angle brush, put it under your lower lash line. Just sort of ties the whole look together at that point. Then I like to take a white eye pencil and just sort of line the lower waterline. Makes your eyes look just a little bit bigger and more awake on stage, and I thought my eyes couldn't look any bigger, but apparently they can, and I am totally fine with that. Now when you finish that, take off that tape for pure satisfaction, that beautiful line. You may have noticed I haven't put winged eyeliner on. I usually do wear eyeliner. I use To The Point by the Quick Flick, but in this case it wasn't error specific and we were actually told not to, so I had to listen. Finally, take a nice clean brush and just blend all those beautiful colours in together, and you are done with your eyes. So let's move on to the face. Take whatever makeup primer you like to use. For me, I really like using Rimmel's Lasting Finish 8-Hour Makeup Primer. I use a nice clean brush and I blend that over my face. A sponge I find actually absorbs too much product, but a brush doesn't, and I actually get a much more even finish there. Blend that in all over your face and down your neck. This will create a lovely smooth canvas for the rest of the makeup that you are going to do, and it will just make your makeup last longer under the stage lights and all that sweating. Because we sweat, might as well be real about it. On to foundation. Now, of course, foundation is a really personal choice, but for me, I am absolutely nuts for Revlon ColourStay in the shade Natural Beige. It's a full coverage foundation, it's not expensive, and it really gives a beautiful finish, and it lasts. I have used this stuff for years, and I highly doubt I'd ever use anything else, except maybe Ben Nye, but maybe one day. Anyhow. Again, I prefer to use a brush than a sponge for my foundation, which prevents me from wasting too much product. For stage, it is advisable to go 1 to 2 shades darker than your natural skin tone for foundation. Stage lights have a tendency to really whitewash your skin and make you look like a ghost, which we'd like to try and avoid. So that is a tip I have picked up over the years. Keep blending that foundation out from the T-zone to avoid that terrible telltale foundation line. And of course, don't forget to blend down your neck as well. Powder. This is absolutely essential for setting your makeup and stopping you from appearing shiny under the stage lights. You'll notice that I'm applying my powder in a dabbing or patting motion. This is really important. If you start brushing powder all over your face, you move your makeup around and cause it to streak, and that just doesn't look good. So definitely use a dabbing or patting motion, whether you use a loose or a pressed powder. I'm using the Nude by Nature Natural Mineral Cover in the shade Fair. I much prefer using a coloured powder rather than translucent on stage because it gives me a little bit of extra coverage, and that never hurt anyone, right? Or has my whole life been a lie up until this point? Oh well. For contouring, I am using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit in light to medium. Oh, don't mind me, I just had mineral powder all over myself and I'm brushing it off because that's the thing about mineral powder, it goes everywhere. Anyway, contouring is essential for stage, so take a brown shade and just apply it below the cheekbones for a really chiseled look. And be careful not to go in too far because one thing that will read on stage are 2 brown lines down your face. When it comes to contouring the rest of your face, the shape of your face will play a big part in determining what you do and don't need. Because I have an oval face, I don't need a lot, but for stage, I will always contour my nose with a smaller brush to draw those 2 lines down the side and under the jawline because I can lose a lot of definition with the stage lights. But whatever contouring you do, always blend, blend, blend. For blending, I use my favorite small round buffer brush from Crown Brush. This thing is absolutely magic when it comes to blending and I am obsessed. Add some color back into your face with blush, that is very important. I have my favorite here and yes, you've all guessed it, you all know it. It is Nars blush in the shade Orgasm. It is a really stupid name, but I do love this color. It's universal, it flatters pretty much everybody and it's so buildable and almost any look you'd ever need to do on stage, it will suit pretty much. Now it's important to think of your contouring and blush like a sandwich. On the bottom you've got the cheekbone contour, in the middle you've got the blush, and on top we are going to put the highlighter. Again, going back to the Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighter. I like to use a fan brush for the cheekbones, it gives me a wider coverage, but for the rest of the face I use a smaller, denser brush and I put highlighter down the center of my nose, my forehead, my cupid's bow, brow bone of course, and just a little bit on the chin, and that's all I need for highlighter. For my eyebrows, I am using the Billion Dollar Brows Mini Universal Brow Pencil. This pencil comes in a really lovely taupe shade, and I think it actually would flatter most people. It seemed pretty universal. Of course, pick the right shade for you, but it worked really well for me. You really want to make sure your eyebrows are defined and that you can see them on stage. The State Theatre, for instance, was a 2,000-seat theatre, so I really had to make sure they were on there. Eyebrows tend to be the first thing that disappear under stage lights, and they also do quite a bit of acting, so really definitely take the time to make sure they're on and that you can see them. I much prefer using a pencil instead of a powder because there's no fallout and I find it tends to actually last a lot longer. So just fill in the gaps with some really light feathery strokes. I also like to extend the line out, not down, because pulling it down will drag your entire face down with it. And then I will just comb through it with a mascara wand or a spoolie, and I'll sometimes set them with brow gel. I didn't really need to for this show, but honestly, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But just comb that through just to sort of make sure it's a nice even coat, and then, yeah, awesome. I was pretty happy with how they turned out that day. Also, I didn't do a hair tutorial, but it was just like curling it and pinning it back, so yeah. Maybelline is still where it's at for mascara for me. This one is my absolute favorite lash sensation. I love this stuff. It has the sort of double brush. The sort of traditional spooling on one end allows you to do the top lashes, and the tiny comb on the bottom really lets you get into the baby lashes on the bottom lash line. Now, at this point, I would say also curl your eyelashes to sort of blend in with the fake lashes we're going to put on. But I didn't need to, because at this point in time, I just had my first lash lift. If you're unaware, it's when your lashes are permed into a curl. I think I have a new beauty addiction. That's okay, it's my problem and I'm dealing with it. So apply a nice coat of lip balm. I use Blistex 5-Way Protection, that's just my jam and that's what I'm going to stick with. And then I'm putting on my absolute favorite stage lipstick. It is Bodyography Lip Lava Liquid Lipstick. There's a tongue twister. In the shade Petal. Now usually people like to do a red lip on stage, but for this show, because it's set in 1915, we were actually told to go for a pink, a darker pink. Now I love this lipstick because it does not move, which I discovered by accident when I was a bridesmaid at a wedding last year. This is the lipstick that the makeup artist used on us bridesmaids, and it did not budge all day and we did not have to reapply. So yeah, this is my lipstick, this is my thing, it is my spirit lipstick, and I'm just rambling at this point, but whatever. You don't need a lot, a little goes a long way, and yes, it does take a few minutes to dry, but once it dries, it ain't going nowhere, kid. You have that lipstick on for the rest of the show and potentially your life. Your makeup's done, so set the look with setting spray. I'm using NYX here. I also love Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. NYX is just good for a slightly cheaper option. Oh, and would you look at that? My lashes are on, Arda Wispies. I love them so. Put on your costumes and head out on stage like the fierce creature you are. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!